Today, I'm going to explain an American action thriller film called Plane. The movie begins with a pilot rushing through the airport as he is running late for his flight. Brody Torrance is forced to work his holiday runs out of Singapore after beating an intoxicated customer who got into an altercation with several flight attendants. As he tries to get through security to make it to the aircraft, he receives a call from his daughter, whom he plans to meet in Hawaii after he is done with the flight. It is New Year's Eve, and his daughter is worried that he wouldn't make it in time to spend the new year together. However, he assures her that he will be there, hoping there won't be any delays. Being home for Christmas on time is for losers. Fortunately, he reaches his aircraft in time, where he learns from his co-pilot, Dell, that the flight officer has not yet made a visit. The two pilots then get to know each other as Dell shows Torrance the bad weather situation that they will face on their way. As they chat, the flight officer enters and informs them that Trailblazer 119, their aircraft, would set off for Tokyo with 14 passengers. Torrance, at that moment, expresses his concern about the weather and suggests an alternative route for the flight that would help them avoid the weather. But the flight officer cuts him off and tells him that the weather might clear by the time they reach there, and taking the other route would add more hours. In addition, doing that for an almost empty flight is just bothersome. Unable to oppose, the two pilots just agree. Next, a flight attendant enters the deck and introduces herself as Bonnie before informing Torrance that he was needed in the jetway. With that, he leaves for the jetway, where he is met by police officers with a handcuffed person. The man's name is Louis Gaspar, and he is being extradited on charges of homicide. Torrance is concerned that a handcuffed felon will make the passengers uneasy, so he tells the officer to keep away from them. The officer, named Knight, agrees and takes the seat at the end of the plane with Gaspar. Shaking off the uneasiness, Torrance meets the other flight attendants, Isabella, who he recognizes, and Maria. They then greet the passengers with the New Year's greeting. Many sorts of passengers are seen, among whom are Sinclair, a short-tempered businessman, and a bothersome couple who complain about the plane's condition. Torrance tells them that the aircraft is fine, trying to assure them of their safety. Another group of passengers consists of Katie, who came with Bree, a social media influencer. They seem to be the original owner of the seat Knight and Gaspar had taken. Thrilled by them, they choose a different seat, as instructed by Maria, and later try to snap a picture of Gaspar to share their experience. Gaspar notices it and instantly tells them not to. With everyone settled with their seatbelts secured, Torrance briefs the flight over the intercom, followed by a Southwest airline grade joke, and takes off the flight. Everything goes smoothly as the flight attendants serve the passengers, while the pilots talk to each other about their families. However, things start to take a turn when they meet the storm they had expected to come across. Torrance alerts everyone to fasten their seatbelts and contacts the air traffic control to notify them of the situation, but receives no response. As they fly ahead, they get deeper into the storm. Suddenly, a flash of lightning strikes the plane, shaking the whole aircraft and panicking the passengers, leaving Dell in control. Torrance goes to the cabin to calm the passengers down and sees a scene with the passengers' belongings lying on the way that fell due to the strike. He helps the attendants pick them up and tells everyone that it was just the weather. Sinclair bashes him for not controlling the plane well, though Torrance just ignores him and tells the flight attendants to not let anyone unfasten their seatbelts. Unfortunately, the plane is struck again, making Torrance lose his balance and hit his head, causing it to bleed. Trying his best, he reaches the deck and takes over the flight, with the entire power and communication cut off and a big rainstorm ahead. The pilots try their best to find a way to get a signal. They try every possible way but see no solution. Knowing that the battery won't last more than a few minutes, they make an impromptu decision to land the plane anywhere possible. Bonnie informs everyone in the flight of the electrical malfunction and slowly commands them to fasten their seatbelts and not leave their seats no matter what. With eyes on the gyro, the pilots do their best to find ways to land, while the attendants try their best to keep themselves and the passengers in place. That's when Officer Knight's phone falls from his hands and lands on the floor. The attendants panic at what he might do and continuously warn him, but he decides to be ignorant and goes to pick it up. Isabella, as an attendant, can't help but go save him, but another strike shakes the whole plane and instantly shoots them off, killing them right then and there. A horrified Bonnie warns everyone to stay in their seats, no matter what, and after witnessing what happened to the policeman, they don't don't dare to move again. Inside the cockpit, the pilots finally find a suitable place to land, but they only have 3 minutes before the engines run out. With the clock ticking over their heads, they put all their effort to go down. Just when the plane is about to crash, Torrance sees a road and turns the plane in its direction. With a lot of difficulties and the blades of the plane cutting through the forest trees, the captain manages to make a successful landing. Everyone celebrates that they are finally on the ground and figure out that they might be on an island somewhere in the Philippines. Since the airplane hasn't stabilized yet, the passengers are asked to immediately get off of it. Through the emergency exit, Dell goes down first, followed by all the other passengers. Bonnie, who is checking on the bodies of the dead, is called by Torrance to get off. By dawn, everyone is off the plane, safe and relieved. On the contrary, the CEO of the airline sets a meeting about the Trailblazer 119's missing, along with Scarsdale, a former Special Forces officer who leads the rescue effort. Scarsdale, upon knowing that the flight officer didn't let Torrance take the other route, calls him out for doing so. They come to learn that the plane's signal was last received in Manila, but was soon disconnected. The officers discuss all the possible ways to find its location. In the next scene, Bonnie asks Torrance about Gaspar and hands him the keys to his handcuffs, which she found while evacuating the plane. Torrance and Dell go over the map trying to locate where they might have possibly landed, and find out it is Jolo Island. Upon hearing the name, Dell freezes. He informs Torrance that it is an island ruled by heavily armed anti-militias who are known for killing and robbing. Torrance decides to hide this from the passengers, to not cause a state of panic. Instead, he tells them that they might have landed in the Philippines and that they will try to find a way to ask for help. He then helps them set up a tent outside. Sinclair, being the man that he is, protests that they stay inside the plane, to which Torrance replies that staying inside the plane was a big no, given the power cut and the heat. The passengers take Torrance's side and tell Sinclair that he should just appreciate what the pilots did. Thereafter, Torrance and Dell go to check if they can get the power back on. However, they fail to do so. Torrance goes inside the plane and wraps the dead bodies. Driven by his curiosity about Gaspar, he checks the officer's bag and gets off after getting his gun. He changes into a different shirt as Dell packs his bag with some water. It turns out that he wants to go find help and take Gaspar with him. After informing all the passengers that it might take some time for the rescue to reach there, Torrance tells them his plan and uncuffs Gaspar. The two then set off to look for help. Back in the headquarters in New York, everyone is still looking for clues, but they find none. Given the little information that they could be in the Philippines, Scarsdale uses every connection he has to help the people out. At last, the mercenary Black Ops are called in for their rescue mission. Going deep into the forest, Torrance questions Gaspar about his intentions because he found a pocket knife while going through his belongings. However, a mysterious Gaspar gives him no information. Then we are introduced to the chief of the anti-militia, Junmar. He is informed by one of the villagers of the plane landing. Furthermore, he tells them that it landed near the mines. Junmar concludes that it could not be the army since his spies didn't give him any such information. Torrance, on the other hand, is alone now because Gaspar fled midway. He reaches a warehouse where he is able to make a call after fixing a few circuits. He calls the airlines and notifies them of the whole situation, but the person on the line doesn't understand him well. Before the line gets cut, Torrance then calls his daughter Daniela, who is worried sick by now. She picks up and learns everything from him. He then tells her to get the information through to the airlines that they were on Jolo Island. All of a sudden, he gets attacked from behind. He tries his best to break free, and after a long while of struggling, Torrance manages to knock the attacker down. Simultaneously, he hears gunshots and gets his gun ready. With footsteps approaching near, he meets Gaspar, who then hands him a rifle. While on their way down, Torrance sees a bunch of dead bodies of people who Gaspar killed. They then find a camera with a video, through which they learn that foreigners were robbed in that place before them. Worried that the same will happen to the passengers, the duo rushes to them in the robber's van. The passengers happily stand up, hearing the sound of the vehicles, but soon get thrown off by the gunshots, knowing it's not the rescue that they had hoped for. Torrance and Gaspar reach there just in time as the robbers are taking over the passengers. They forcefully take the passenger list from Bonnie and ask for Torrance, but no one tells them who he is. Just then, a girl tries to escape and is instantly shot. Her boyfriend cries for help, but he gets mercilessly killed too. The terrified passengers passengers are then evacuated. Torrance tries to interfere and help them, but Gaspar holds him back, knowing that going in front of the robbers as the captain would be foolish. Junmar orders 2 of his men to take everything from the passengers that could give them money. Gaspar and Torrance then capture him and force information out of him. They then find out that they are headed to Dandulit village, but fail to get more information than that. Torrance then goes inside the plane again and locates the village on the map and leaves a message for the rescue team, having discovered that Dell somehow managed to fix the electric system. Consequently, back in the headquarters, Scarsdale hires the mercenary Black Ops to go to the island. After confirming the information with Daniela, Torrance and Gaspar, on the other hand, reach the village where the passengers are held hostage. Slowly eliminating the robbers one after another, they meet the rest of the passengers. Thankfully, with only a man guarding them, the duo successfully frees them and takes them to a bus. But escaping would only alert the rest, so Torrance goes to distract the robbers, putting his life at risk. He greets the chief and acts as though he doesn't know who he is. The act ends up getting him hit. At that moment, the assigned team fires at the robbers and ends up killing a lot of them. It turns out that they were fast to reach the plane and catch up with the passengers with the help of the message. Soon, they safely reach the bus, along with Torrance. Junmar is enraged by the situation and orders his remaining men to go to the plane. During the ride, Torrance learns that no rescue team would come there until the next 24 hours. Shellback asks for his help instead. They reach the plane where Torrance asks everyone to trust him one last time and boards the plane since it was the only way they can make it out of there, and everyone agrees. Torrance asks the rescue team to help him buy some time until he can fix something. Right then, Junmar arrives and attacks, hurting one of the passengers. With a lot of gunfire, both parties try their best to overpower the other. A while later, it is time for Torrance to enter the plane. As everyone else backs him up, he makes a run and gets in despite getting shot in one of his legs. He informs the headquarters about flying the plane, which Hampton refuses, but Scarsdale supports. Who the hell is Hampton anyway? While the pilots and remaining crew do everything they can inside the plane, Shellback and Gaspar are still out fighting. Gaspar finds the bag of money the mercenaries own while trying to recoil the rifle. As it is time to set off, everyone but Gaspar gets in. Gaspar leaves with the bag of money, and Shellback just watches him do so. Meanwhile, Junmar and one of his men are still trying their best to stop them. Junmar's man picks up an RGF to hit the plane, but Gaspar kills him off just in time, saving the plane. Torrance sees the missile go off in a different direction and feels relieved, but is again disturbed as Junmar picks up the RGF. Ready to shoot the plane, Junmar has his car parked in front of the plane, which he thinks will stop it. However, Torrance, who has no plans to oblige, takes off the plane right through them.
This is Jolo!
With the help of the air traffic that is finally connected via the rescue team, they find an airport near, just reachable with the plane's remaining capacity. Torrance successfully lands the plane, in a place where there are no more attackers this time. He is congratulated by the applause of the passengers. Finally, everyone gets off the plane. The movie ends as Torrance gets off after them, as a hero who saved many lives. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.